Okay, so practical example for practical advice, please.
So I find like going to davening every day, 3 times a day, or even less than that, or going to classes every day and like actually sitting down and doing the same thing as if it's a structure that kind of holds me down to a specific time in reality. I just struggle with doing that. I struggle with creating that system in my life.
Is it like monotonous?
It's just not. It's grounding, and like I just have, like I'm a wind. That's the best way to put it. Like I'm just floating around, flying around everywhere.
The breeze.
Like yeah, I mean, it's like that's how I am. I need something to like hold me
Okay,
down.
okay, with the same thought. Well, first of all, um, that that's exactly the point of finding the balance. You have a certain nature, and then you need to balance yourself, meaning to walk your way to get that nature to be balanced. So there is people that their nature is to be too grounded, and they cannot let go of the like physical attachment, and some other people they are like too much of like floating in the air and cannot be grounded. So whatever is like the extreme nature of a person. So avodat amidot, to perfect our character traits, is exactly to give the counter side of that of our nature, right? That's part of Halachot Shuvah of the Rambam. Like you have extreme to one side, so you have to be extreme to the other side, and then you find a balance between them. There was a Hasidic story about the Gur Hasidim that I don't know if it's true, but it's good as a story anyhow. Um, so the story goes that they found themselves like 3 days late because like they prayed like Shacharit so late, and then Mincha was like in the middle of the night, and Ma'ariv was in the morning, and like and it went like to be like 3 days late. And then when it got to that extreme, so the Rebbe said, enough is enough. From now on, we're gonna do everything exactly in time. And today, the reality is that Gur Hasidim are known to be very, very exact on time. Everything is like they say an hour. This is the hour. There's no like late. No one is late. Everything is exactly in time. So I think that will be the practical advice for you. That if you understand that this is like a tikkun that you need to do in your life, so to be extreme about it for a while, whatever it is, some few months, let's say, second, like try to push yourself that everything is on time, and this is like to look at it and to say this is my tikkun now, this is my focus in my life right now. Like there's many other things, but if you decide that this is what you're focusing on, so it should be like I don't know a first priority, but very high priority in the way that you manage your day, and try to be extreme about it for a while. And then after you're extreme about it for a while, so then you can find the balance between those two ends. Um, Another example that we have is from Avraham Avinu. I'm sure you heard it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Avraham Avinu, yeah. Avraham Avinu, that he was extreme, like in Chesed, in love, right? So he need to do the other side and to bring his son as a sacrifice, right? So he going against his nature, right? And so on and so forth. That's all around. There's many examples of great individuals that they had like certain attribute of very strong nature in a certain way, and what Hashem demanded them is to push themselves to be extreme to the other side, and obviously the final goal is to find a balance between them, right? So Avraham in one side, Yitzchak in the other side, and Yaakov is the balance, right? There's the Chesed, Gvura, and Tiferet.
Yeah, Yaakov had to go between pretending to be Esav. He had
Right.
to pull that off.
Right. Okay, fine. There's challenges everywhere, for sure. So, it's not exactly the point that you were saying. You didn't speak about like being in time. You said about like to have that structure of the day.
Yeah, and actually just like
So, but I think that
through that structure.
right. But I think that being in time is part of that.
I think I'm relatively good at being
Yeah.
in time, actually. I don't think
Yeah.
it's something I struggle with too much because
Okay.
I make it an important point.
Fine.
But-
Okay, exactly. Good. So you make it to be important point. So then you're good at it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I
Right.
see. Yeah.
Right. When you understand that something is important point, you put it in a higher priority. So you're putting your mind and heart to bind yourself to that, to perform, right, for yourself, for Hashem. And that I think should be the like very important point that I want to emphasize, that all of these different things that we speak about should be with the right attitude, the right intention, which is between me and Hashem. It's not for this friend, it's not for that rabbi, it's not for my parents. It's good to honor your parents, honor your rabbis, everything, but like to push yourself to do those things for a lifetime. It's not something that is a few days. It's lifetime work, to fix our character traits. So it has to be with that understanding that this is the relationship between you and Hashem. So when you're doing those things, when you're pushing yourself to do it, even though you feel like doing other things and so on, whatever it is, and while you're doing it, you're telling yourself, you're telling Hashem, I'm doing it for you, even though it's difficult for me, but I understand this is what I need to do now for you, and I'm doing it. And this is your sacrifice, right?
This actually gets out into exactly what me and my rabbi were talking about. So he was saying that me and him, we have very similar relationships with Hashem, and they're both the father relationship, the guiding force, like the guy that will help you after you fall down and like be like, no, it's okay that you made a mistake, now just keep going, you got to get better, that kind of thing. And I don't really see God much as a king, and that relationship with God that I have is just not much of a thing there. The relationship of, okay, I'm doing this for you because you're my king, and because I respect you and want you to continue to be my king, and I guess I just really only see God as a father, and I'm understanding that it's important to see him as a king, and I understand what you're saying and how it fits into that.
Exactly. So to find the balance again in the relationship between you and Hashem is to find the balance within yourself, right? Because your inner being is the part of you that have the relationship with Hashem. So it goes together, right? Finding the balance of oneself is finding the relationship with Hashem. And whenever someone is within a state of not being balanced, which is, by the way, everybody in different ways, there's a lack in the connection that we have with Hashem, right? And one of the things that can help with that is to hear stories, to read stories about tzaddikim, how they were like dealing with different situations, and to be inspired from those stories. That's the main thing of like reading like Sipurei Tzaddikim, is to get that inspiration of how to deal with life and how to develop our relationship with Hashem. Do you feel that you got an answer? Yeah?
For sure.
Baruch Hashem.